am so excited for my guest today. Jay has so much information. I went down a rabbit hole of reading all about her before I took her quiz. I found my archetype. I was doing all the things, and it really unlocked for me a name of some of the feelings that I feel, and I could put a face to it, right? Which is mine, but which was a different one. So I'm going to leave you with that little kernel
Ooh,
I know, which we'll get more into
I'm
it.
intrigued.
I know, so we'll talk about that more. But Jay, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our audience, let them know who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and very curious with your with what
Yeah.
you just shared about what your experience was with the quiz. But thank you to your audience for listening, and I'll give you a little interview or a little insight into who I am. I'm a somatic coach,
Yeah.
which means that I help people leverage their body and their nervous system in order to be better in the relationships that they're in their life. So that includes their relationship with themselves, but also with the important people in their life, with the people they work with. It's that sense of, and maybe you discovered this in the little rabbit hole that you went into. So many of the people that I work with are incredibly smart and incredibly successful and have the good life from the outside, but from the inside there's that sense of they've been missing deep connection, or they've been
Mhm.
missing the sense of really being understood or seen, and they think there's something more that they can get from their relationships, but they've done all the therapy, they've done all the self-help, and they know better, and they still can't figure out like how to really feel at home in themselves around other people. So
I love
that
that.
is my mission, is to give people the tools they need to feel solid inside of themselves, and to have
Mm-hmm.
a good experience of themselves, not just when they're alone.
Yeah.
And we were talking about being, bookworms, like to
Right.
be able to go escape into a book when you're alone
Right.
is wonderful, but like to be able to have that sense of being that alive and that inside
Mm.
of your being while you're close to someone else is what my clients really long for.
Gosh, I'm just going to jump right into it because this is so fascinating for me. I've been doing a little bit of work with inner family systems too, and just identification, and it resonated so much for me when you talk about, yeah, on the outside, highly
Yeah.
successful, functioning. Anybody would look and say, great, they've got it all together. What a gal. It's just that they
Right.
really seem to have it. And then what they don't realize is the complexity and the level of depth that some individuals truly seek. And it's the seeking in that can really leave them feeling lonely. And, I think in some cases, at least for me, I can resonate with this a lot. Not feeling the level or the state of fulfillment that I want from maybe a relationship, whether it's a friendship or it's a partner, because it's that deep, deep level of connection that I so much for so long wanted to feel. I wanted to be seen. I wanted to be seen at this level. And I simply started to realize that it was parts of myself that I had exiled that I hadn't seen. And I was like, when I started to, work with my protectors and my managers, and I was like, okay, we're going to call some of these beautiful parts of self forward. And it's a process still, for everybody listening.
Absolutely.
This has been a process. So wherever you are jumping into this conversation and resonating, there is something for you. If right at the beginning of this conversation, you're like, okay, I need to know more about not feeling that deeper connection and what that means. I know for me, where I am right now, it's now bringing up to the surface those parts of me so I can fully feel who I am.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you mentioned internal family systems, because it's a
Yes.
huge part of my work with people, and being able to understand that we all have these different parts inside of us. And and for the most part, what I see with the clients I work with, what I see in myself is that
Yeah.
the some of the protectors and the managers, they're the ones that got us to the success in
Yes.
our lives.
Yeah.
They're the parts of us who got us the career we want,
Yep.
and the level of comfort in our life that we want. but they're also the exact same parts of us that get in the way of the intimacy that we want,
Hmm.
the being known, the being seen, that deep
Right.
closeness that you spoke of. And that is what can be so frustrating
Yeah.
for people because, you know, most of us have gotten to a point where we over identify with the parts that have gotten us the success. And it's like,
Right.
to be able to, like you said, find the other exiled parts and go, oh, this is the part of
Yeah.
me that's actually able to receive love. This is the part of me that's actually able to be comfortable in vulnerability. Like, those are
Right.
not the same parts usually.
Right, exactly. And it's interesting because I share with clients and on podcasts and interviews. I'll lay the cards on the table. I will be so far. We've been through this stuff. We've done this stuff. I'll share the vulnerability. And it's interesting because that's almost an aspect of my life that with work, I am happy to share the vulnerability, the struggles. But in a relationship, that's another dynamic. And so for people listening, it could be different facets of your life, right? It doesn't necessarily, it's wherever this, it could be work for you versus a relationship for you or friendships or maybe with your family, that vulnerability where I couldn't necessarily have it at an early age with my family because they needed me to show up, through
Mhm,
early childhood
mhm,
loss and
mhm,
being the eldest and supporting the siblings and this and that, then now and then also having a codependency in a marriage and being able to support him. And it was just very much that's that vulnerability. So now whenever I'm working on that, I say I'm feeling vulnerable. I'm being vulnerable. I name it at this point so it can be right there with me with that part. And I think that's, this could
mhm,
be so many different parts of you for everybody who's listening. And you're exactly right. I love my managers and my protectors. It's with
mhm.
love and compassion. And I thank them for taking me everywhere that I've been and gone. And then it's also a gift to them to be like, okay, can I see what's behind?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
stand down.
Stand down. I got
You can
you.
take a
I
break
got you.
here.
Yeah, we were doing the
So,
work and we're good. And that's hard because you
yeah.
realize, I'm 41 years older, 41 years since we've started to have that conscious thought. They were there for me, ride or die. They're right there. And they're going to
Absolutely.
continue to be there for me. But in recognizing them and the awareness, I feel like is such a first step that we can kind of lock arms and I can see and then ask them and let them know that I am ready to see and I'm right there and I'm coming in as the capital S self and connected to myself in a safe place. And I
Mhm.
can see what's behind and, whether that be fear or scarcity or self-worth or whatever it is, to start to address there and get to the bottom of it. So let me ask you this, when you're talking, with a client who's coming or even somebody who's coming to you, what do you find is bringing them to you? What is the why that they're coming to you to start to look? So those who are listening on the phone that they're like, I can't identify what's going on with me, but I can feel and hear that it is deeper connection that I need because let's be honest, it's what the world
Mhm.
needs right now.
Yeah.
We need that healing. So what
Yeah.
is it that people are coming to you? What is the why?
You know, there are so many different specifics of what the why
Yeah.
look like, but the overarching thing that I would say is that people are coming to me because they are tired of not having a good experience of themselves around
Yeah.
other people.
Mm,
Period. Right?
okay.
Like, and like you said, it
Yes.
could be their parents, it could be their children, it could be their friends, it could be their coworkers, it could be their husband, their partner. But the underlying thing is like, I don't like how I feel in these
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
relationships. And it could be again because they show up more codependently than they like. It could be because
Right.
they're yelling at their kids more than they want. It
Yeah.
could be that they are not having the intimacy that they want. But there's the underlying thing is like, yeah, to the outside world, this looks great.
Right.
But on the inside of me, I don't like it. And
Right.
I have gotten to the end of my know-how as to, because that's the
Yeah.
other thing. My clients usually have done a lot of therapy. They've done a
Right.
lot of other coaching. They're the ones reading the books. They're like
Right.
they know better and they're not
Right.
doing better. And then I would also say because I found this to be a really interesting commonality in
Mhm.
my clients that I didn't go looking for. And that is 75% of my clients are alcohol free.
Mm.
And they reach out to me once they have stopped drinking because they realize that alcohol was their social lubricant, alcohol
Mhm.
was their synthetic regulator for their nervous
Yes.
system and their
Yep.
emotions. And now that they have kept that commitment to themselves,
Right.
that's no longer going in my body, they
Right.
realize they need actual skills to address all the things that the alcohol was helping them to quote unquote helping them
Right.
to move through and numb. And I just find that so fascinating, and it makes so much sense
So much
that that
sense.
is such a the drug of choice
Right. Oh,
and for many successful women.
yes. Mhm.
And once they've made that commitment to themselves, because that's a
Mhm.
huge commitment,
Huge.
to then do the next step of making a commitment to themselves to change their relational conditioning and their
Right.
patterns is like,
Oof.
we're doing this.
We're doing the work. We're doing the
Yeah.
work. And how brave.
Yeah.
Because they're strong. These are the strong women out there. And you're listening and men
Yeah.
for that matter.
Yes.
You know,
And
it's the
men.
strong men and women that are listening right now. I see you. You know, you're functioning at a very high level. You can keep all the balls in there. And I know this, and I say this with so much dignity and grace because that was me, right?
Yeah.
High performing VP level corporation on the flights every week, two small kids, married, looking great, power suit on, walk into any room and own it. And on the inside, I'm like, I'm going to pass out. And then where's my
Yeah.
wine? Where's my wine at
Right.
night? I need to take the edge off. How am I going to
That's
go to sleep tonight? And then we get into I'm impatient and I'm exhausted and I'm putting on weight and I can't sleep anymore. And you know, the habits. I just posted something out there not too long ago about are we numbing again? Are
mhm.
we numbing again? And I meant and it's meant to be in such a direct, honest, kind way. Are you? Is that what we're doing? Because I lived in that state of numb. And I could easily at any time, and I look at the things around me or impulses, and I'm like, what is that showing me right now that I have an impulse for, you know, a quick chemical release or something like this? And I'm like, oh wow, let's look at this because I am now committed to this because my life feels the way that it does and I can't go back. But I would say to those people that come to you, and especially with the alcohol, because, right, it's readily available, it's acceptable. You know, it's acceptable. You're hanging out with friends. I've gone on trips before, and before I know it, there's 3 bottles of wine gone. And while I don't drink, normally, you know, I don't. Again, same thing. I had a, you know, partner who was drinking pretty regularly. I wanted to support them. I was really realizing personally I was using it as a coping mechanism, and I had to take the lens away, right? You had to
Yeah.
take kind of the crutch away to be like, okay, I've really got to look at this. I mean, it's interesting though, because society, I remember when I moved back home after my separation, and the girls were like, we're coming over to be with you, bottles of wine in hand and sending them memes, and it's wine all around and this and that. And I was like, okay, you know, sure. And I
Right. So it's not just that it's socially acceptable,
yeah,
it's actually kind of the the enforced in a way. It's
yes,
like you're doing this because this is what we
yes.
do. And
Right.
if you don't do that, and that's what you when you use the word brave, like it is incredibly
Yes.
brave to say, no, that's not for me anymore. And
Right.
then to be around people who are still doing that and make choices as to what does
Mhm.
that look like? Do I still want to be around them? It opens up so many
So
other
much.
choices, but I love the depth of commitment it is.
Mm.
Like I said, once someone has made that commitment to themselves, it's
Yes.
such an they've already demonstrated self-love, and
Right.
it makes it so much easier for them to just be like, all right, give me all the other tools. you
Right. Give
know?
me all of them. I want all of them. I was just having a conversation with somebody and I was like, yeah, I have alcohol in my house for anybody who wants to come over
Mhm.
or have a glass of wine, a party that we have, a dinner party. I'll have a rough day and I don't go for the Prosecco in the fridge. It's always there. It doesn't, I don't think about it. I go for the tea because I have a tea, in my Ayurvedic practice. I love the tools that I have, and I have so many now that I'm like, it's like going through a book of which one do I need to, because I know my body so well. And and for everybody listening, that's a journey, and it's a beautiful journey to embark on, right? Because each step of the way you're growing, you're feeling better, you're getting more comfortable in your body, which is part of the journey to understand, I would imagine, those parts.
It's it's so important. It's so important. Like as you know with Ayurveda, the
Yeah.
once you're more connected to
Mm,
your embodied self-awareness, it
yes.
really does shift everything. And this is a huge, huge part of my work. I would say, there's three main parts to my work. And the first part of my work is helping people grow their embodied self-awareness and learn
Right.
how to regulate their nervous system,
Yes.
both in general, but
Mhm.
also in real time in the moments where they get activated. Um, because without that foundation, nothing else sticks, which is why the clients who come to me who've done 20 years of therapy or 5 years of deep coaching, they
Right.
know better, but they can't do better because
No.
your nervous system will hijack you at
Mm,
every step of the way if you're trying to do something that feels new and scary. Because your brain is going to tell you, look, we've survived this long doing what we're doing. So if
right.
you're going to switch up this game, I'm not into that because
Right.
we're already alive.
Right. Right. We're here.
Like your nervous system doesn't want you to grow, it wants you to survive. And
Right. And
so
it's
if you're in the like seeking growth and you
right.
don't have a way to consciously work at the level of your nervous system alongside that growth,
Mm.
you're not going to get there.
I love this. It was exactly what I wanted to ask you, because for those that are at a different stage and listening to this and they feel that they have a lot of the tools, like myself, and the coping mechanisms and the nervous system regulation and self-awareness, I know when I'm pushing out of my comfort zone and trying to expand, right? I want to call something into my life that is different than what I've had in the past, right? Because habitually I could keep calling the same things,
Mhm.
whether they're good for me or not, because it's habits. But I recognize that. So I'm trying to stretch out into activating in a lot of ways, right? My managers and protectors, they're like, whoa, whoa, we know nothing about this. Uncharted territory. Where are you going? Oh,
Come
you're not
back, come back.
come back. I'm gonna freak you out so much that you're gonna go need to breathe in a bag for a second, and I get that, and I'll sit with that. And sometimes it's even the regulation of the nervous system, but it's that activation of something deep within you, your intuition, yourself, and you're like, okay, I'm seeing clearly for what this is. So I guess two parts. One, what I'm hearing from you is we need to keep working that muscle, right? Because this is a process, this is a journey. We are not completely through the evolution of self until we take that last breath. Right. So we need to keep
Right.
working this muscle. And even if you were at a place, but you're like, wait, guys, Jay, Tessa, I'm feeling really good and I'm operating at this standard. I can keep everything pretty much in control. Things are pretty complacent. You're telling me I've got to go and stretch this muscle. I shouldn't, do I need to go apply for the dream job that I've been thinking of? I've been single for a while and I'm feeling really regulated. Do I need to try and date again after, say, divorce or something? Do I need to get out there and try to make some new friends when I feel really safe at home? So it sounds like that's exactly.
Well, that's a really interesting question because I have definitely been doing a lot of inquiry in myself
Yeah,
recently around like when does the growth not when does the growth stop, but when does the need to be your best self stop? Right?
sure.
Like because we can definitely get into the pattern of like constantly pushing,
Yeah.
constantly growing in a way that is
That.
maybe antithetical to just self-acceptance,
Yes.
right? And just being
Beautiful.
in a place where like I'm good. I don't need to keep pushing.
Yeah.
So there, I just want to bring that in because I think
Mm,
that's
I
also
love
part of
that.
this around like you use the should I, should I be going out and finding a
Right.
new relationship? Should I be pushing myself in that way? And like we all know the shoulding on ourselves. So let me
Right.
go back to the beginning, what you said. One thing around like if you're at the beginning of this journey
Hmm.
and recognizing that like your work at this point is like getting connected to your body in like
Yeah.
this regular way, because I think of all these different practices, nervous system regulation and different embodiment practices is
Right.
in they're not they're like brushing your teeth. You don't brush your teeth once in your
Hmm.
life once you
Right.
figure out, oh, this is good for my teeth, and you're like, I'm
Right.
good, I got this.
Right.
You don't even brush your teeth once on Monday morning and say you're good for the
Right.
rest of the week. Like
Right.
I think most of us are brushing our teeth a couple times a day at least. And that's the same sort of thing for these embodiment practices. Like
Yeah.
these are now a part of your life so that you have a way of tracking your internal experience. And this comes back to that question of like growth and pushing ourselves and that sort of thing. Because I think
Yeah.
once you have a way of tracking your internal experience, you can start to sniff out when it is one of those parts inside of you, like
Right.
pushing you into the achievement oriented growth,
Right.
as opposed to what it feels like in your body to be kind of holding back. Like, I'm completely content, but like there's this
Right.
caved in energy when you say it, and you're like,
Yeah.
I know I'm lying to myself when
I
I say
know,
it.
right?
Versus when you can say, like, I'm good and I don't need to be pushing myself. I, I don't know if this is making sense, but I have
Yes.
this experience that once I know how to track my inner world, and my
Hmm.
clients can do that, I think they get to see a little bit more. It's like they can call themselves out based on, am I
I love
hiding, am
that.
I pushing, or am I really just right where I am, and like thank freaking the Lord, right? Like, because I am
Right.
finally just being me and
Being
not,
here now. Yeah,
yeah,
being here now. And how
yeah.
good that has to feel. And it's so funny because when you brought that up, so for everybody listening, I took the quiz earlier. I know I gave you I am the archetype of a perfectionist, so it would make complete
Yeah,
so
welcome. We're in good company. Me
right.
too.
So it would make complete sense that I
Yeah.
would ask that question. Hey, we got to keep pushing and we got to keep moving because,
Right?
and boom, a light bulb just went off in my head because I'm like, wow, am I pushing past self acceptance in a lot of ways? Is that
Yeah.
the perfectionist being, where the question is, am I enough? When I've always been enough. So it was very eye opening for me. And for those listening, I'll link it all in the show notes. Go take the quiz, completely free. It takes like 10 minutes. Man, was it just
Well,
really eye opening in a lot. I was like, I feel seen. And so many, in
oh,
such a beautiful way that I was like, you just put in one sentence so much. And it was almost like a veil pulled back. And I was like, wow, how much, because those unhealthy habits we don't have to name them. They don't have to be good or bad. But those habits also include self-improvement, right? If we get
yes.
so wrapped up in that tunnel of self-improvement and I got to do
Yeah.
this better, it can almost be to our detriment that we're avoiding the acceptance of who we are. And I'm going to tell you all listening, who you are is incredibly beautiful. And we need you just as you are. And you going in and accepting those parts and being able to be the fullest expression of yourself, and I'm telling this to myself right now
Right.
too, is the greatest gift that you can give to yourself and this world and the people that you love and your children and partners and friends and whatever, or whomever it is, and your dogs,
What,
you know?
and it's not a conceptual thing, because like I can hear
Right.
your words, and as someone who is a perfectionist
Yeah.
in recovery as well, like I can say the words all I want. I know
Right.
what it sounds like, but to have it be an embodied
Yes.
experience of like I'm okay and who I am is
Yeah.
needed. Like that comes from a totally,
Mm.
I mean, I can even hear it in my own voice when I'm actually saying it from an embodied place. My voice is
Yes.
coming from my solar plexus. It's
I
not
love
hollow in
that.
my throat, right?
Yes.
Um, And so just to clarify too, because if you haven't seen the quiz yet, the quiz is what kind of overthinker are you?
Yes. Yes.
And the reason why I broke it down into the 5 different overthinkers is because this is the opposite of being embodied. If you're
Yeah.
in your body and you're in embodied self-awareness, you are not in hyper thinking mode. But
Hmm.
this is how most of us escape. And there are patterns to the escape of overthinking, right? And so you
Right.
named the perfectionist. There's the worrier, the analyzer, the
Yeah.
people pleaser, and I'm totally forgetting the fifth one. It's my own damn quiz. This is me not overthinking it.
Well,
But that the I know, and I think I even say it at some point
right.
in the responses that you get in the quiz. I am all five, like
Right.
100%. I
Sure.
am, and everybody pretty much
I
is
was
all
going to
five.
say, we could put on any one of those hats
Oh
at
yeah,
any given, because such is life, right?
yeah, and
And
it's conditioning, right? We
yes,
most of us were raised in cultures that tell us that being smart is good and
right.
having feelings is kind
Mm,
of like
don't make me
really
uncomfortable, right?
inconvenient.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Um, and that producing and achieving is good, and that just
Yeah.
puts us into thinking mode. So, recognizing that we all have this internal setting that's going to put us in default thinking.
Right.
There are different flavors of that. We all have all those flavors, but there's usually one that is like the nemesis, as it
Right.
were, and yeah, for you and I, it's both. And of course it is, because this is the work we do, right? We help
Right.
people become better, and and I am like, as I'm integrating more and more of myself, starting to bristle more at this whole idea of like become your best self. It's like,
Right.
I don't know, what if I just got to like and have a good experience of me
Of
on
me.
each
I
step
love
of the way?
that. I love that. When you said that and become your best self, I was like, oh, it kind of gave me pause as well. And I'm like, uh, the whole idea of acceptance of just as as I am at this, and the parts of me that have been there and will always be there as self, understanding the dynamic and the just the uniqueness of what that is could be such a beautiful journey and is in itself, right? And acceptance. It's almost not necessarily the becoming, it's the acceptance of what you already are in so many ways. And it made me even think about the perfectionism a little bit while we were talking, and it made me think about, when I put content out there, when I'm talking, working on a new dynamic for working with clients or this and that, or parenting or anything that is, sending a message to someone and being like, how is this, is this going to make them feel this way, this and that? And just, am I getting my point across? Am I this? And, or rereading a text to make sure I really got it. And at first I was like, oh gosh, that's heavy. But at the same time, I think it's the compassion for the awareness of that I'm
Mhm.
also like, oh, what a gift too, because maybe there's a balance there.
And just to clarify, what aspect is heavy so I can understand?
Yeah, so I mean, just the idea that the amount of pressure that I probably put on myself,
Hmm.
so much so throughout any given day,
Yeah.
understanding that thread of perfectionism has been woven within many years,
Yeah.
right? And carried through with me I know that pressure. I feel that pressure. And I've gotten quite comfortable with that pressure that I put on myself. So it's interesting to not look at that necessarily and, oof, that's a lot to take in and feel that, but to be like, ooh, okay, have some
Right.
compassion towards it.
Right. That makes sense. And invite it in almost of
Yeah.
like, okay, now I know you're here.
Yeah.
Let's get to know each other.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'd say
Yeah.
to anybody listening. If you go take the quiz or if you're hearing, this discussion and you're like, wow, that's a little bit unnerving to be able to put, words. And I brought this up to somebody else earlier this week. I was on social media and I was scrolling through, and a lot of people I follow, and it was like, are you this and are you that? Do you act this way? And all of a sudden, I've diagnosed myself as five different things,
Yeah.
self-diagnosed of just through scrolling through. And I'm like, who are these people and this and that? And it's interesting because I think we are now in a world where we're we so much so want to put names to things, right? How we're feeling, how we're operating, how we're showing up. Before it was attachment style. Then it was, different childhood traumas and,
Mhm.
all these different dynamics. And what I love so much about this conversation, it's the internal workings of us that have always been there shaped throughout our lives.
Yeah.
With the exiles, with the managers, with the protectors, and with self. And that's kind of unique to everyone. But that's just who we are and who we're made of and who we need
Yeah.
to understand and call awareness to. I don't then need to go out and assign or put any more labels on myself. I just need to start to look within.
Yes, beautifully said. And I think, as you're talking, what I was feeling is, um, you know, the scrolling and diagnosing and being like,
Yeah,
oh, and there's this and this. There's still this sense of like being pulled outside of yourself and pulled
right,
into a different, like, oh, over here, once I understand these things or once I know this, I'm going to feel better. I'm going to be better. And
right.
it's that still
Yes.
better, 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 as opposed to the difference of what if I learned how to be behind my own eyes,
Mm,
like right here? Because then, if you know how to be in yourself in an embodied way, you make choices differently. That's when you
right,
get to look at a new piece of information and from a really true, grounded, healthy, grown up place in yourself go,
right,
do I want that?
right.
Hmm, no. Yes. Whatever it is. But like, if we're,
I love
a
that.
shell of ourselves, if we're
Right,
still in our head, if we're still in that place of kind of unconsciously being run by the signals of our body and our nervous system, we're gonna make habituated choices. We're gonna
right,
reach and grab. We're gonna go for the shiny objects. And I'm speaking
right.
from experience here. Like when I can be solid in myself
Yeah.
and have that experience of being behind my own eyes, um, I I just I speak differently, I make different
Mm,
choices, I behave differently. And
right,
I can, like I said before, I can even hear it in my voice. My voice changes. I
right.
go from being like that kind of higher up here in my throat to it's coming from a deeper place. It's
I love that.
slower. It's more
Yeah,
resonant. You keep using the word that resonates with me, but like
yes,
this is about resonating with yourself, being resonant
absolutely.
as a being.
I love that so much, seeing behind your eyes and seeing what's within and just all of those things. And I imagine, just like most things, it's like working a muscle, right? It's a
Yep.
practice over and over again. And it's not, and the more you practice, the more these situations come up or life comes up or different things come up and you practice working that muscle. And then it becomes more and more a part of you that's what you're activating when given an opportunity to look within
Yes.
and make those choices. That makes so much sense. And for everybody listening, right, it's the contemplation within that you allow yourself the space, right, to ask yourself, is this right for me? Is this, what I should
So
be
you
doing?
Yes, I love the words you're using because when you said it's about the creating space and contemplation,
Right.
the tool that I have been giving to clients that is so transformational is the two words, hey, wait. And
Ooh,
it's
I
about
love
creating
that.
space, right? So,
Yes.
hey, wait, the first way you use it is with yourself throughout the
Yeah.
day. We were talking about how this isn't just brushing your teeth once a week and you're done.
Yeah.
Embodied self awareness happens all the time. You're
Yeah.
building the practice, like you said, you're building the muscle. So, first off, hey, wait is to yourself, hey, wait, how am I right now? And
Yeah.
to do this throughout the day, like, what's my energy level? What's my mood? Am I hungry? Do I need to pee? Like all these things that we
Right.
are ignoring when we're thinking or when we're people pleasing or when we're overachieving. So just, hey, wait. And you can feel it. Like you take a
Mm,
breath, you get behind your own eyes, and you just check in, like, what's true for
right.
me right now? And that becomes the foundational practice for then when you're around other people or when you're on social media and you're scrolling to be able to like make choices and speak from that place. So, hey, wait, then becomes something you say to someone else in the middle of a conversation when you feel that
Yeah. What a
it's
gift.
moving. Like, can you see
Right.
where I'm going here? Like, for
Yes.
those of us who are used to being in the, like, I'm going to make everything better for everyone else,
Right. 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 Right.
when you're around other people, it's like you become the projection of whatever they need for you.
Yes.
And to be able to say, hey, wait, I actually need you to say that again. I missed that. Or, hey,
Mhm.
wait, I don't agree with you. Would you be open to hearing what I have to say? And the hey, wait creates the pause in the relationship, or excuse me, the conversation, but it also creates just that little extra pivot where you can shift the dynamic.
Mm,
Because I think that the
that.
thing that is common for my clients, in addition to their overachieving and their overthinking, is that they're usually over caring
Mhm.
and overdoing for others at their
Right.
own expense. And hey, wait is the tool that gets you to pause for yourself, but also pause these external dynamics that speed up and that you just put you right back into your habituated patterns from all those different parts of you.
Right. So everybody listening, that's our mantra for this week. Let's take it with us. You've heard this podcast
Hey,
for the
wait.
next 7 days. And then I want you to reach out to Jay and I and let us know
Mhm.
how much it changed your week, your dynamic, your life.
Yeah,
I
how did you use it? What did it
How to
feel
use
like?
it. And
Yeah.
did other people start using it? Because, right, we're embodiments. It's not about talking people through. It's not about, pushing them to do something. It's about showing them how you can cultivate it in your life and share it with them,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Because again, those of us who are coachy
Yes,
and perfectionisty,
right.
we have this really pernicious, shitty pattern of kind of
Hmm.
like controlling other people,
Hmm.
teaching them how they need to be. And yeah, like if
Yeah,
you're hiring me and you're coming to me, yeah, I'm going to coach you. But if
right.
you're my brother or you're my
Right,
neighbor, like you
right.
don't want me coaching you.
No, your
And we do
partner,
it.
my sister, we do it. And
We
I'll
do
send
it.
her something and she's like, yeah, it was that. Or I'll put something out there. She's like, are you talking to me? I was like, I'm talking to myself, but I'm talking to everybody else too.
Yeah.
Or even with friends, we're out and about and I don't share. I don't say it. I bite my tongue and
Yeah.
we're fine. But
Right.
you better believe I'm going to say, hey, wait from now on. I'm gonna,
And so here's the piece that I'm going to add to it. There is a third word after hey wait, and it is I. And this
ooh,
is super important because
powerful.
it is not ever hey wait you. Because
Yeah.
hey wait you is the same
Yeah.
pattern, right? Hey wait,
Right.
you need to do this. Hey wait, you need to change this. You need to have
Mm,
whatever. Like that is
yes.
because if you're an overthinker, you're not in your body. You are
Right.
used to unconsciously believing that the only way for you to have a better experience of yourself is to change the external,
Mm,
change the person, change the situation. But hey, wait, I is about recognizing that if you are actually the one behind your own eyes,
yeah.
you are in your own body, you are claiming and accepting what is true for
Yes.
you,
Residency.
you get
Mm,
to speak from that place. And it isn't about changing other people, though
no.
it might. It
Right.
absolutely, like, I can tell you the times that I've been able to say, hey, wait,
Yes.
it shifts the pattern. And other people, it's like, what? Like,
Right. I can
uh,
do that. Right.
right. So it's not about changing other people, it's about teaching other people how you want to be treated, but modeling
Mm.
it,
I
you
love
know?
that so much it's interesting because I even went there was a process I was going through where it was I feel.
Mhm.
Right? It wasn't a projection of feelings that anything else was happening in my environment was doing to me. I feel this way. I'm
Yes.
feeling this way. I'm naming this. And that was early sessions I was going through, working through codependency and this and that. I remember it vividly because I still use it today. And it's I feel and naming it, claiming it, and taking residency within the body. And now it's expanded
Yeah.
so much so. And I love the hey, wait, especially with my children. I've
Ooh.
got young children. I'm like, oh, and we talk about things very openly and regularly and are expressive. And I definitely take my beautiful times out. I'll take a time out to myself. But I love the idea that if something's going on, and maybe it's even something between the two of them because they're very close in age, I love
Mhm.
that pivot. Hey, wait, and then I can introduce something a little different, because so it's like I think about Ozzy Osbourne's Crazy Train right now. I don't know why that song's like just going in my head. Oh, this is just a weird thing with me. And I'm like, because we get on the rails, just like our thought patterns and how we step into the gap and the space in between thoughts. But all of a sudden, you're activated from such a place that you're no longer, right, a part, you're not seeing behind the scenes, and it's almost, you've become the embodiment of that exile or that feeling, or the
Yes.
firefighters are coming in and it's fight or flight, and that sympathetic nervous system is on full protection mode. And guys, if you're listening, we still have it. I'm sure you run into situations, it's a
Oh,
part of living,
100%.
right?
My husband when I'm like if I'm in an activated place and
Right.
my husband will often joke with me. He's like, I know someone really good you could hire to help you with that.
I love
And I'd
that.
be like,
Right, I'm
but
like,
it cracks me up every time. I'm like, yeah, this does,
right,
like you said, this doesn't end until we're taking our last breaths. Like I am still learning
right.
this, but the difference is I have some way out when I get there, as opposed to
Beautiful.
before when it's like I don't like how this feels and I don't know how to make it stop.
Yeah.
I
I
know how to
love
make it stop
that.
now.
I love that so much. So, again, I just want to repeat that you have a way out, right? You
Yeah.
have the tools, and it's a healthy way out that you've identified through a personalized prescription through you. What is going to allow you to take that residency within your body, see behind your eyes, as you say so beautifully, start to do that beautiful work on self and with self and understanding and uncovering. Gosh, what a gift, right? Because I think so often if we don't have that way out, and I know I was for a long time, I operated and I was
Yeah.
a high functioning operator in that place of firefighters, constantly
Yeah.
coming in, protectors coming in. And as we mentioned at the beginning of the call, these are high functioning humans
Yes.
out there, but you
Yeah.
don't have to stay in that place. That's
Yeah.
what I think the point of this call, this whole, putting this out there is you don't have to stay in that place. And darn it, I'm going to tell you right now how good it feels when I can find my way out of it. And it's
Yeah.
like breaking through the surface of the waves in the ocean and taking a deep breath. And it's
Yeah.
calm. Ah,
Yeah.
gosh,
Yes.
you know,
Yeah. And I want that for so many
so
people
many.
because it's everywhere right now. It's
Yeah,
so, um,
it is.
the our contemporaries who got all the same kind of conditioning and training we got
Yeah, yeah,
are exhausting themselves and depleting themselves
yeah.
and again I'm going to say it because it's important, not having a good experience of themselves, and like this is your
Right.
life.
It's
Like,
yours.
and I get it's, the world is the world. It's not all going to be
Yeah.
wonderful and easeful, and but I think you get to have a lot more agency in what it
Mm,
feels like on the inside,
yes.
and that's why I do what I do.
I love that. What a gift. What a gift it is. I love that. Oof. This was so good. And
I
everybody,
know we're
I know, I feel great.
very
I'm like, this is what I hope everybody is taking a deep breath. And this is a key to unlocking a world within that is so incredibly beautiful. And we want that for you. So I'm going to connect all of Jay's information on the podcast. You'll see it out. Reach out to her, ask her the questions, connect with her. Go take that quiz. Let me know. Let us know. Maybe you're a
I know.
perfectionist too. Join the club, and chat with us and talk with us. And Jay, thank you so much. If there was anything else that you'd leave with the listeners today, because I think we unpacked a lot here. And I think sometimes that can leave people feeling pretty vulnerable, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Where would you say
Yeah.
would be what's next?
What's next? I mean, you did a great job right a few moments ago just saying like I hope everybody's
Yeah.
taking a deep
Yeah.
breath right now. So I feel like what's next in this exact moment is like I
Yeah.
would add, putting a hand on your heart
Mm,
and just making that connection and
yes.
feeling yourself with yourself that in this moment
Yeah.
here I am. And
Mm,
to start to get curious as you do that of what your own presence feels like, because this is important. This is a piece around if you're going to become an overthinker in recovery, you're going to have to start to be able to recognize what you feel like when you show up.
yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
use that language of coming up for air after being underwater, and it's like,
Yeah.
and there's ways that just feeling your own presence throughout the day has that sense of surfacing or
Mm,
of landing or whatever. Like, so I want the people who are listening to start to be able to find the language for
yeah.
what it feels like when they know they've shown up. Because if you
Mm,
can take a visceral snapshot of like, this is what my own presence feels like, then
right.
you know what to look for. It's
Oof.
not conceptual anymore. It's something that you can go, wait, I remember what that felt like at the end of that podcast. I remember putting my hand
Right.
on my heart and taking the breath, and it felt warm, or it felt solid, or it felt calm. Like that's yours. And
Yes, it
that is
is.
something that you can now use as a touchstone to ask yourself, like, are you there? And you'll know it based on
Right.
how it feels.
And I know sometimes for myself, I have to listen to things again, and I'd recommend, after today or even a day later, listen to this podcast again. Just go back and listen because you might hear something differently and it might have opened up or unlocked a window for you, right? Where now you're taking that breath, fresh air, clean air. It's you, it's
Mm,
whole, it's pure, and it's working all the way down and it's opened up space to give you a
yeah.
thought that, hey, we could shift here. We could pivot, you know?
Yeah.
And let's use that mantra and let's start the process. So beautiful. Thank you so much. I have immensely enjoyed this. So
Same.
good. So
You
good.
totally get it. We
Yeah.
are definitely kindred spirits in the world.
Yes.
So thank you so much for having me on,
Yes.
Tessa. And thanks to
Thank
everyone
you.
listening. And like you said, do please reach out and
Yeah.
I'd love to hear from you.
Yep. Connection makes the world go round. So guys, reach out. We want to hear from you. We always do. And thank you so much.